hypothesis for work that he's been working upon and preparing for many years, and this gave us some guidelines and key guidelines. That's when the story of the film started to emerge. We've used all of that symbology behind the dances. Dances are symbols in movement, and we've created a story of a country town or people in the country. So it's got to do with this cycle of nature. And the entire film, choreographically, we've also used a lot of choreographies by Juan Antonio from his previous shows. The choreography and the symbology behind it stem from Juan Antonio's work for, 40 or 50 years, which is very interesting, which we believed was very interesting, and that's where we started off from.
Muy bien. Pasemos a una pregunta.
Yes, I've heard you, Telmo, talk about the film, but I would like to ask this question to Koldovica Jauregui. I would like to know whether for him, how the project turned up, how did he work upon it, how could he carry out all of that symbology, what have been the ingredients, the concepts that he's used, that he's wanted to portray in the film, whether these concepts were, whether he had reflected on these concepts before, or whether you've improvised or creating according to as the project progressed. In the world of symbology, well, okay, the world of symbology already exists. It's amongst us. We know these symbols. And then when I talk to Juan Antonio, I've always been interested in symbology to get to know what are the bases, the foundations of the dances. What are the symbols that are hidden behind all of those movements? With Telmo also, I started with this project, the great part of the film was not only to show the dance, but we had to create the symbology, that context, this world of symbology, and to give meaning to the world that was created through the symbology. That's the foundation, shall we say. We didn't need a script. The approach was different. We started off with these symbols. We were running the risk from the outset of showing too much, that symbology too much, and lose the sense of dancing with the symbols. And that's one of the risks we undertook, and we had to explore it and to know to what extent we should tell and portray the symbols so that whoever wanted to go further in depth could find them within the choreography. The basic symbology, it seems, you might appear in the Dance of the Swords, maybe interesting, but how we carried out a small metamorphosis in how we carried out our work. Okay, he told me once that perhaps you agree with me or not, but you have to read the 10,000 sheets I've written, so therefore I believed him 100% because this was dissuasive, but we did maintain a lot of conversations in different scenes to clear up what were the ideas behind them for us initially, and then to transmit this on and convey it on to the audience. Well, I tried to carry out the aesthetic side of work with concepts and data. When he saw it, he said, yes, but this has got to be done here and there from one movement to the other, and there were some variations because we realized these were necessary, because in the world of symbology it's difficult when a person has been working for so many years. It was difficult for me to understand everything in the first reading, but slowly but surely we worked upon it. We have completed, shall we say, the meanings and the concepts between all of us. I'm not too sure whether I've directly answered your question. Hi, congratulations. Good morning, congratulations. It's been a very interesting and marvelous film. What's strange was the editing, Telmo. I liked it very much. Between one dance and another, there were very well filled in gaps. There's no void gap. Everything is in line and everything has been linked together. How did you manage this? That's one of the most important parts of the film. That is how to transfer from one choreography to another, how to make those transitions, and these transitions were well and deeply thought of and closely linked to the storyline. We've done a great amount of work in this. When, for example, the tree starts to grow at the beginning, it was very difficult because we did that digitally, and I remember that it was complicated, but the script, we had well thought of all the different transitions, and then also the locations are very important. Exteriors, that is, say, working in the exteriors. It's very important because when the dance starts, when the choreography starts, that's what we focus on, the people and the dancers. And Koldovika and I spent a lot of time trying to find the exteriors. We even found under everywhere, basically, to try to find the most suitable places to be able to focus. And the colors were also very important. And we've also been able to see different peoples and with different colors, with gray, red colored rocks and stones. And we've linked all of these ideas together and deciding which were the most suitable for or most appropriate for our script. Hi, I would like you to explain also the costume design, all of the colors, the chromatic side of things. That's very important in the film. It has a lot of weight behind them. That is, who designed, how did the costume, was they designed? Well, this has been a bit complex. I think that it's taken several years since we started. Since the Gartubirti dance and some transitions subsequent to this. Why? Because it was the dance that was the most complete. The Agute Danza, for example, which you see in the cider, with the cider factory, for example. And then there was a typical desperation. There was no way of managing any money anyway to make the film. So this has been 4 or 5 years or something like that. And in that time, this brought about the possibility to think and to rethink of what we were doing. And the film quite clearly has an evolutionary, shall we say, meaning behind it. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but you want to get to see tonight. It starts with a very arid and barren situation, and it finishes a cycle of 1 year. And so therefore that cycle take place in very different times, albeit they're more or less the same dances. But they occur in different times. The film evolves chromatically as well, from very poor and barren land and costumes to costumes with much more color and much more sumptuous. So the chromatic range is not an invention. It's the chromatic range that I use normally. And it's true, when we thought about costume design, it was like building a town. It was like an image to show what the Basque dances, the Euskal dances, have to do with the dances of anywhere else in the world. We've been doing things that when you dance the sword dances, these are danced everywhere in the world, but we wanted to give it almost showing the great importance and value of the Basque dances and what we've got in common with the rest of the dancers, and vice versa. What do those dancers have in common with us? And chromatically it evolved. Over that time, it is true, we designed costumes and all of the symbology, because each symbology required chromatic ranges which were specific. For example, it might have to do with the world of insects, for example. There are spaces that change chromatically speaking, and there are also a trezzo that evolves as well, and also jewelry, everything, and makeup, everything that involves this. So therefore, colors started to emerge. It's better to see it. I'm not going to explain it in depth, but how the colors evolve and the complexity of these costumes as well. Everything started, the costume design started with the whole costume, or the costume design had to be comfortable, because I've always seen that it had to be comfortable because people have to dance I'm not going to give them the 200 skirts to women, but so they had to be comfortable. The main thing was the dance, and so for them, some cases, we took away the shoes so that we could, but a barefoot dancing upon a box, so there are no feet that are the same, so therefore there are things that we've adapted to aesthetics and beauty, and we've transformed some things the best way we could, but these scenes show the color, and these are marked by the costumes as well. 5 years ago, we started with a very simple pair of trousers, and it's a tie pair of trousers. It's a very, very comfortable pair of trousers, which was what I was interested in. Not things that we were already using, but other types that tie pants or trousers are being changed. But that's where all of this stems from. Or, for example, the sweater that the Gartubiti country men were wearing, but there's practically no sweaters. It's like a mesh cloth, and it's a mixture between a Japanese designer, a piece of work that I liked, and mixed with the sweaters. The neighbor, my neighbor, because it's all worn out, and I looked at it, I said, how can you wear that? It's like mesh. And it's my neighbor who lives in a country house. And I said, well, dear, what are you wearing? What feeling can he have with that when he wears it? But plastically speaking, it's something that was interesting. It is true. The dancers, when they saw it, they said, well, how am I going to put this on? I don't want to have to put, what's this all about? But nevertheless, these are things that is quite normal when you come from using a traditional type of costumes, and then you have different types of, I wanted them to be comfortable, the costumes. Whoever has to dance, the dancers have to wear what they have to wear. They've got to feel comfortable, their mind and their body, so that can flow. And as of there, you take much more dangerous licenses. Yes, a question for Telmo. How do you feel in front of the audience? I'm not too sure whether it's most personal film, but it's a very aesthetic. How do you feel now, and why did you decide to make something fiction with music when portraying this film instead of using a why did you use fiction and not documentary? Well, as regards to your first question, I'm pretty relaxed. I feel pretty relaxed about this because with other films I was much more nervous on the days they were presented, but with this film I've got the feeling that I really know what I've made, what type of film I've made, and I'm very, very relaxed and feel comfortable with myself, really. But when the time comes, I'm sure I'll be more and more nervous, but for the time being I feel very comfortable with the film. I've got a good relationship with the film. And as regards why we used this genre and not a documentary and make a documentary vis-a-vis dancing, I've always thought for this project that there were two films, or we could have made two different films. One is the film that we've already got at present, which we've shot, which I had in mind from the outset, and fiction, using all of this symbology and symbols and creating a story transferred through choreographies. And then I've thought also on the other hand that this film was going to provide the opportunity to carry out different types of documentary, which is what we're doing. We're creating different documentaries to explain what is all the symbology, what hides behind the film. And initially, from the first moment, I saw the opportunity of making this film through fiction, and I had these two projects in mind open up, and we will see whether they end up happening. I don't know why I decided to do it this way. I imagine that you start to work with an idea in mind. You don't know how it's going to turn out. And then when we got together, well, we submerged ourselves into the world of symbology in these hypotheses, and I saw that it was a very interesting and powerful work. And I thought it would be very interesting in turn to use all of this symbology to make a fiction film, and that's how the project arose. Congratulations once again. A question for Ainara. I would like to know how you reflect on the feeling with your eyes and dancing. It's got to be incredible. How do you feel? It was truly very beautiful. It's very difficult because to start off with, I'm an administrative worker. I'm not an actress, but it was difficult for me. But Telmo asked me to smile with using my eyes or to try to convey that look, and I let my imagination fly, and the truth is it was difficult, but it's feeling at the end of the day. The other actors and dancers, could you talk about how your process is? Because I imagine it's got to be very strange to dance with a camera surrounding you and taking shots all the time. Yes, initially, when this idea was given to me, I said, yes, of course, it has been very positive and different experience, and we were able to leave our own world and our own environment and to dress up with different costumes and to be able to make different adaptations of the choreographies because they had to adapt themselves to the film. It was strange on the one hand, but to have the camera around you, you didn't really feel that the camera was there. You danced, I felt very comfortable. It is true that sometimes when it was a close-up, it did impress you or you got a bit more nervous, but I felt very comfortable at all times. I don't have too much to add. The truth is, we've recorded for so many hours, you forget about the cameras. I forgot about the cameras, and just like Amaya said, we started to dance, and that's what we know how to do. And we can say that we're not actors, but we do interpret the dancers, and that's what they made us believe, and we've tried to give everything we can. And I think it was a very positive and pleasurable and very powerful experience, and we've enjoyed ourselves enormously. We've enjoyed ourselves dancing enormously. Yes, I would like to add another idea, and it's that, yes, they're dancers, and they rehearse an hour and a half, and also in their performances. But when they shoot a film, we made them dance for 10 hours. They don't only dance for an hour and a half. That's what happens when you shoot a film. We've had to repeat and change scenes and record from one angle and another angle. It's been difficult. It's been tough. I know that. And they've done an impressive job. Each of them, from their own role, they have fulfilled the role that they had to play very satisfactorily. But not only the 5 that are here in the press conference, but there are other 200 dancers in the film, and each of them have played their role very satisfactorily. How could I see this? It's true that they're not actors, but they are they know how to perform because they're performers. They're not actors, but they are actors because they go on stage when they perform their dances. Yes, I would like to ask Juan Antonio Obelts, what does he think of the result? To what extent do you also believe it's your work, or it belongs to you? And the director, I would like to know the risk of undertaking a project of this nature and then to be able to fill the film theaters. What expectations do you have? Well, I'm happy with the result. It's important that those that participate are happy. That's very important for me. And then there's another issue that I think is interesting, which is that Koldovica Jauregui's work, because the symbolic and metaphorical background that's hidden in the Basque traditional dances is quite unknown. It's quite unknown, and that is to say, it works in Europe. The metaphorical world works in Europe, where there's a latent entomology which is in the background of these traditions. For example, we've got these sword dances against what you might think. The obvious thing is the sword, so therefore we've got a weapon. We've got a weapon in a dance. A sword dance, it's a war dance. No, that's not the case at all. It has nothing to do with war. What's behind can be the mosquito or an insect, so therefore the dance, long sword as well as short sword dances, the sword is working as the extension of the insect. In the Spata danza, when I attack with Gaia, the saber is, I'm the insect and I'm extending, and I'm a dancing insect. I'm not a dancer. We can see that, that's obvious because the dancer is dancing with the sword. But what's most interesting is, what interests me is what's behind that. These are dancers in a conjuring up, fighting against this insect, a horsefly, for example. Horseflies, I don't even want to think what would happen if there would be horseflies here in this. And there wouldn't be any head with a military structure to be able to prepare the resistance of a horsefly, and that door was going to, doors and everything would explode. People would be running out of here if there were horseflies. So this phenomenon, it happens in the north of England, in Yorkshire, and also here in the sword dance that Telmo filmed. There are two parts. One is what they put the swords around the neck, and this universally is known in Spanish. That is to say, the head being cut off, and then after that, the captain of the dancers gets on the swords and he's taken up. There's a death and there's a resurrection. In Yorkshire, it's interesting because they don't even know that themselves. The captain, on his cap, he's got a dried fox, and the fox is the metaphor of a fly, and the fox and the fly are linked by an X, which is wine, that links them together. For example, the Maria Moliner dictionary says fly, it's called mosquito to the man that abundantly goes and drinks at a bar. And our country has been full. Now the boys and girls don't drink small wines, but our parents did. And there was a gang of mosquitoes who all swarmed around all the bars in the old quarter of the city. But in English, hunt the fox. To get drunk is to hunt the fox. And in Spanish, it's to catch a great fox is to get drunk. So therefore, the fox that's on the cap of the captain in the Yorkshire dances is just a symbol of the mosquito. And this is very interesting because the mosquito is prehistory, way before the prehistory. Prehistory, but 300 million years the mosquito spent with us. It's an eternal bug. It has oceans of blood from the animal world and from the human world. And Bram Stoker made Dracula, upon which he gave all of the sensual burden that the mosquito always has. What do I mean by this? Is that the mosquito, male imagination, the mosquito is pending in order to surprise the beauty when she's sleeping. This is something that we've never stopped dreaming with, we men. End of the day, well, I think it's a great achievement what Telmo and Kolobika have done, and it's a great achievement what the dancers who participate in the film have managed. I feel very good. I feel very proud because it's very difficult without traditional costumes to go directly, leave to one side the document and to try and make a dance with a plot for the traditional world. This is a very complicated thing, and they've done it with cum laude. Thank you very much.
Bueno. Vale, a mí también me interesaba... Ah, bueno,
I'm also... Oh, Telma, you're going to say something. In any case, the second question is better that Marian can answer as regards financing and so on and so forth and production. I don't remember the question now. I lost the plot after a complicated film to finance, to sell. Oh, yes, right. As regards to selling, well, the film, well, the moment in which Telmo launched himself into giving a shape to the film, I imagine this he had been thinking about this for many years. I believe that dance is not more, but is a passion for him just as much as filmmaking is, and I'm sure this brings about. He's been with him for many years, but when he decided, once he started to work with Koldovica, to give shape to the project, that's the moment in which Chinchua participated. What I saw was there was so much passion and the ideas were so clear and the proposal was so different that I believed it was absolutely necessary, and I got involved head first to try to achieve financing. It was quite complex. I don't think there's any producer that comes to this festival, or very few that can say that it's easy to set up a project that they bring here, or any film. We know that it's very difficult to make films, but the complexity here was even greater, because when you have a project that doesn't fulfill or doesn't have a conventional script or dialogues with actors and a conventional story, you find much more reluctance and resistance to it. But Telmo firmly and absolutely believed in the film, Koldovica as well, Juan Antonio and I myself. But what we thought is, if we were able to make what they were thinking about and what was in their minds, we would end up finding an audience, and I think that's going to be the case. Yes, to connect with the audience, and also you got the Films in Progress award last year. This last year, how was the work with the film, and how have you managed to transmit this since you received the award? Yes, since last year up until now, we presented the film last year, but we were missing the end. That is to say, we had the last exteriors, the last part of the film, and we filmed it in December in 2 days. It was almost a marathon. In 2 days, we did what we had organized for 3, because we had very poor weather, and then it didn't stop raining the entire month after those 2 days. So therefore, we had practically all of the editing done. We finished the editing. We valued and assessed whether the film was well compensated with that last editing, and then we started the music, using the music to see how we were going to transmit this, convey this, because Juan Antonio's music of Juan Antonio's show performances, along with the Mariana Miquel's music and Pascal, what he's done is dramatized the narrative with this music. We submerged ourselves into the music, and we analyzed different pieces of music. We liked some more than others, and we had to specify it, and then we have to mix it. And thanks to the local in progress, we were able to do it under good conditions and in good studios, and so therefore it's quite clear that the quality is excellent, and as regards the photography as well as the music itself. I'm not too sure whether you want to add anything. No. The award that we received, apart from what Telma says, the opportunity of working with studios and with professionals well, high-level professionals and good quality professionals, and that the companies that entered into the post-production of the film and also the distribution through this award, the award we received was great for our self-esteem, and that's an intangible that in a long and complex process was very important, and that's also something that we want to thank the San Sebastian Film Festival, the film industry, and Local in Progress, and especially to add in a process which is as complicated as this film, to present it to Local in Progress, and that companies, state companies, looked at our film. We were able to see that we were going down the right path, and we thought, well, the film will be understood outside of here. I think there's also the answer is quite clear. We have time for one more question.
No sé si alguien se anima, ¿sí?
Yes, somebody over there, it seems. Yes, we've talked about this issue, but first of all, congratulations. It's a very daring and very courageous film, and exciting at the same time. We've talked about this before, but Juan Antonio Urbel's performances, or those of us who enjoy his performances and his dances, the songs, we recognize them. But the attrezzo, the costume design, the colors, it's difficult in order to locate ourselves in time and space, because that concept is very open. I'm not too sure whether you have wanted to create something from the roots, or did you want to play with the exteriors to not specify where we are in time and space. Yes, what we was finding was something atemporal and delocalization, obviously. The story is a cycle, and in that cycle, what we wanted to do was for it to not be one single year, but that the dancers, albeit they appeared time and time again, to make it a long cycle for many years, 200 years, for example, the cycle. We didn't specify this cycle, but we wanted to open a sort of wrath of in several years, X amount of years, the desert would start again, the barren land. It starts in the desert or then barren land, and then it ends up in a building in Guipúzcoa of the 20th century. The first buildings in Guipúzcoa in this last century. Our intention was to carry it out this way. We wanted to delocalize everything completely and to give the impression that it could be any place, any municipality, and to play with the time issue. And slowly but surely, we were able to see how we started with wood, and then metal comes into it, and therefore we play with that. I hope you have a lot of luck, and I hope the premiere goes very well this evening. Thank you very much.